The trip I took this summer was hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a 2,600-mile continuous footpath that goes from the Mexican border all the way up to the Canadian border. The number one challenge on the trip is boredom. Like many things in life, you do something day after day after day, and eventually you're going to get bored. And so you have to be committed to what you're doing. You have to be committed to walking 20 miles a day, to cooking your food every night, to cleaning your pot without water, to staying hidden from the mosquitoes, and to being bored for a good number of days. I dealt with the boredom by keeping the whole picture in mind, right? Before I started out, I told myself that I was going to be bored, right? And it wasn't going to happen right away. It was going to happen somewhere in the middle. So I went in expecting it, and then when it hit me, I took a moment to sit down and to remember why I was there and what I wanted to do. And I asked myself, is it worth it to be bored right now in order to accomplish this, in order to get to Canada? And yes, it absolutely was. So it didn't mean that I wasn't bored, but it meant that I had a reason to be there, which was enough. Being out in the wilderness for that long, you run into wildlife because you're living in their living room, which means that in the desert, we ran into quite a few rattlesnakes. One actually tried to climb under our backpacks that we had on, so we had to give him space to calm down and to move on his way. And then up in the mountains, we saw a bear. He smelled our breakfast, came over to say hi, and we told him that he couldn't have our breakfast. He turned tail and ran, thankfully. The high point of the trail for me was actually the high point of the trail. We climbed, me and my, at the time, boyfriend, climbed Mount Whitney, which is the highest point in the United States. So imagine the biggest mountain you've ever seen and then triple it. And so we woke up at midnight and hiked through the night for hours up the side of the mountain. All you can see is your feet through your tiny little headlamp. And at sunrise, we reached the top of the mountain. One of the biggest accomplishments of my lifetime right there. And then my boyfriend proposed to me. And I said yes, and it's something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, being up there with the person that I love, looking out over all of creation.